Hey guys, welcome to Dicejunkies. I am Tim.
I am TayCosplayy.
And today we are going to be doing our review of Hero Realms by White Wizard Games. Hero Realms is a game for 2 to 4 players. It is a deck building game. It's actually White Wizard Games. They are known for their first big game was Star Realms, which shares a name with this one. And this is kind of their fantasy version of that. The other big difference between Star Realms and Hero Realms is that Hero Realms already comes set up so that you can play it with up to 4 players, whereas Star Realms, the initial pack only comes with 2. Although I think they've got some other stuff that you can go more than that. But the game itself, I mean, it's set, like I said, for 2 to 4 players. They say on the box that it takes about 20 minutes to play.
A little bit longer than that.
Yeah, well, we did play with 4 players.
Yeah.
So, in my experience playing the game, usually about 30 to 45 minutes if you've got intense players, very competitive and strategic players. For 4 players, about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after they've learned how to play it. Because the second game that we played
It went by a lot faster.
It's 12 and up. I've got to agree with that. Normally, I can say that usually some younger people can play it, but there's a lot of math in this.
A lot of
game.
math and a lot of strategy.
There's not anything really lewd or too terribly violent. You know, there is a little bit of blood, but not too much. So, in total, I think that they're pretty close on what that they have said. The game itself, I think the Msrp for this is $25, although pretty much anywhere that you can get it, you know, Amazon, your friendly local game store, you can get it for about $15, maybe even less than that, depending on where you get it from. Like if you get any discounts or anything like that. So let's talk about the actual review. So Tay, tell me about the design. What did you think about that?
I gave it a 3 because the art didn't really stand out to me. It was decent, but it looks like every other board game pretty much that you see. Nothing really stands out. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's we reviewed and played the other deck building adventure game, Thunderstone Quest, and the art is fairly similar to that.
Yeah,
right behind us. It's very similar to that. It's good art, but it is kind of generic. What do you think about the quality of the cards and everything?
Well, you said you've played it a lot, and I would have thought it was brand new out of the box. The cards didn't seem like at all bending throughout the game or scratched up or anything like that. So a
little bit of fraying, but after multiple games, I definitely need to get some sleeves for this game. Which I am definitely a fan of getting sleeves for any card games that you have. So, and in total, I also gave it a 3.
Yeah.
So I think we agreed on that one. Entertainment. I thought it was great. I really thoroughly enjoyed this game. The only downfall that I give it really is that if you're playing in a multiplayer game, when you're out, you're out. There's a lot of player interaction because you're constantly attacking the other player. It is a super competitive game. There's a lot of strategy involved in it, and it was just fun to play. What do you think?
I gave it a 4 because I thought the exact same thing. Like, you're always interacting with somebody and you're always thinking, like, what are you going to do next? Who are you going to hit for what next? Trying to come out on top. And but also the downfall was when you're out, and you're kind of just sitting there. So
yeah, and that is kind of the thing. The good thing about it though is when we were all playing in a 4-player game, the turns passed fast enough that it didn't really feel, even though there's not anything that you can do when it's not your turn, it passes so fast that it doesn't really bother me.
And you're really more so trying to figure out your next move while that's going on. So
yeah, you're kind of hoping that people take a little bit of time so that you can strategize, especially when all of your guarded creatures start dying.
Yeah.
You assholes. So both of us gave it a 4 on that one. For mechanics, what do you think about the mechanics?
It was fairly simple. It took a second to learn, in my opinion. But once you got it, you got it. A lot of math involved, but it's once you catch on and play a few games, it's super easy and pretty fast paced.
Yeah, the game itself, as far as setup and breakdown compared to other deck builders like Legendary, is super fast. There's not a lot to the game itself, which is really good for a deck builder. But unfortunately, it does kind of fall to the same problems that a normal deck builder does have. Whereas if you're playing a strategic, like a Magic card game or Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, anything along those lines where you're using a pre-built deck, whether it's pre-built out of the box or something that you build on your own, you've got a lot more input. With these types of deck builders, it's all luck of the draw. Mm-hmm. So not only do you have the luck of the draw on the deck that you're building, but also what you can buy.
Yeah.
So with that being said, though, it's fairly well balanced. The different types of, the different cards, the factions that you have in there, they work really well together. Unlike some other deck builder games where you really want to stick to, one, maybe two different factions or allegiances. In the last game that we played, I kind of screwed up and I got all 4 colors in my deck, but I still didn't feel like I was screwed. I definitely felt like I was less powerful than everybody else, but it didn't, completely ruin the game for me. So it's fairly well balanced on that end. And again, both of us gave it a 3 for that one. Mm-hmm. So for replayability, besides this game, which is random on its own, there are several different character expansions that you can get that give you different starter decks. There is a campaign expansion where you're actually working together. So it changes it from a competitive to a cooperative game where you're
stop being mean to each other.
Work
together.
Yeah, we're probably still going to be mean, but but yeah, we're working together. I think I haven't looked too much into it, and we may do a review on the expansion later. But there's a separate boss deck that builds throughout the game. So you're fighting against a separate, kind of a computer-controlled character. Mm-hmm. That is against you the entire time.
That's pretty cool.
And then there's multiple additions to that one. So you have different bosses that you can go out and get. So there's a ton of different things that you can do as far as replayability on that end of it. If you had this in your choice of games for a game night, would you play it again?
Yeah, I would. And after a few times, I would look into expansions just because it would change it up, kind of set a different vibe, try new things. So that's another reason I gave it a 4 for replayability, because maybe after a while you'll get bored of this, but the fact that there's so many expansions out there, you can just go grab one and change it up a little bit.
Yep, and I do the same thing. The other cool thing about this game is that it's set for 2 to 4 players. If you go and spend another $15 and get another set of that, you can actually have up to 8 players in an epic version of the game. They have rules for a 6+ player game. That's another thing that we didn't talk about. You've got your normal head-to-head with a 2-player game. You've got a 3 and up player free-for-all. You've got a hunter rule where with 3 more players, you're actually only able to attack the person to the left of you. And then they've got the Hydra version of the game where you're in teams of either teams of 2 or teams of 3.
I was to your left this past game, so I don't think I'd enjoy
that would have been really bad. That would have been really bad. And there's even other versions of that one where you're trying to be the last man standing, or if you want to do a faster game, you can do the hunter style where you can only attack to your left, but the first person to kill somebody wins. So there's a lot of different variations to this game. I think it's fairly solid altogether for a small game that does not really cost that much. If you're trying to break into, deck building games, if you want to see if that's something that you like, if you enjoy playing things like Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, any of those types of games, but you don't want to spend all the money to kind of invest in that, this is something that would be a really good starter point. both of us gave it a total of 14 out of 20. For something like this,
That's pretty high.
that's pretty good. Yeah. That does not break any molds. There's not really anything too terribly special about the game, but it's very solid. There's not a lot of major flaws in this game. So, anything else that you wanted to say about Hero Realms?
No, I mean, like you said, I thought it scored pretty high, and I was very impressed with it actually. So
Yeah. We'll definitely have to get a one-on-one on this one, because the first time that we played, it was me and you at the very end, and I can tell that you're very competitive about this thing. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, guys, check out Hero Realms. Go visit your friendly local game store. If you're in Ridgeland, Mississippi, go check out Vans, Comics and Cards.
For 15% off all board games.
Yep. And be sure to check out TayCosplayy with an extra Y.
I think cosplay, yes.
Yep. On Instagram. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, which is where you're seeing us here. Be sure to like and subscribe, and hit that little bell token so that you can see the next time that we have something come up. And until next time, be sure to play on.